It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Monday, July 29th. I'm Wendy Corr, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily newsroom, brought to you by Wyoming Senior Olympics. Don't miss the action at this year's Summer Games from July 31st through August 4th in Cheyenne, Wyoming. For more info and a schedule of events, visit WyomingSeniorOlympics.org. Three members from the gospel group the Neelands were killed in a plane crash on Friday afternoon in northeast Wyoming. The Pilatus PC-12 had left Nebraska midday Friday and was bound for Billings, Montana. It crashed about 8 miles south of the Wyoming-Montana border, sparking a wildfire upon impact and killing Jason and Kelly Neeland Clark, Amber and Nathan Kistler, Melody Hodges, and the pilot Larry Haney and his wife Melissa. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that experts believe the autopilot system malfunctioned.
Some of the last data that the airplane sent to the ground indicates that it was pitching up and down, that it was thrashing vertically at 26,000 feet, traveling about 300 miles an hour shortly before the crash.
The jet fuel crashing down into Wyoming's Sagelands sparked a large fire that Campbell County authorities fought both via air and from the ground. Firefighters were combating the last smolders on Saturday. Black Diamond Pool in Yellowstone National Park blew itself up in a spectacular hydrothermal explosion Tuesday, and videos of the violent eruption made headlines around the globe. The story blew up again Wednesday thanks to the reports that a perfectly preserved baby mammoth was exposed after the explosion, a mammoth discovery that never was, according to Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi.
The Casper Planet is a satirical Facebook page. All the articles on there are written to be fun and satirical, just on current events. Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller has 1 million followers, and he didn't share the Casper Planet's post. He actually copy and pasted the text in the image and shared it on his own page, which is why it got so widely distributed. There was no factual basis behind it. A baby mammoth was not uncovered in the explosion of Black Diamond Pool earlier this week.
Mammoths roamed Yellowstone 30,000 years ago and could return in the future, but there are no traces of them in the park today. And that's unlikely to change no matter how many hydrothermal explosions occur. Heirloom Energy, a Laramie-based wind energy startup, is raising $12.7 million to promote its novel design of wind energy loops that operate horizontally and low to the ground instead of the giant turbines that dot the Cowboy State's landscape. The company has caught the attention of billionaire investor Bill Gates, who with other investors has contributed about $4 million in seed money. Heirloom's innovative design could eventually produce hundreds of megawatts of power at a fraction of the cost and footprint of traditional horizontal axis wind turbines with 3 blades, according to energy reporter Pat Mayo.
It's not like building the big wind turbine towers like you see out in the landscapes across Wyoming that are half the size of the Eiffel Tower, roughly, is what I've calculated. But this one's going to be working on like an oval track. They have blades that will go around in circles, and then they go back depending on the direction of the wind. And theoretically, they won't cost as much to operate, about a third of the cost, I believe.
Wyoming energy projects aren't foreign to Bill Gates. He's also an investor in the small nuclear reactor company TerraPower, which is building a plant in Kemmerer in southeastern Wyoming. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
In southwest Wyoming, wide open space is waiting. This is how we explore it. In Rock Springs and Green River, Wyoming. Plan your adventure at explorewy.com.
Authorities say Yellowstone concessionaire worker Lucas Fussner took a hostage and threatened to shoot Jew babies before dying in a shootout with park rangers July 4th. But Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland spoke to members of Fussner's family who told her that that wasn't the person that they knew.
One of the shooter's brothers actually reached out to me, just saying I had no idea he was even up there. And he put me in touch with their mother, who was very forthright. And I did public records requests to get police records, and I spoke with a county records keeper. And I had noticed that there was some chatter on Facebook that Lucas had bought a car before going up to Yellowstone. I managed to track down the car salesman who remembered him just as this wide-eyed, naive, very inquisitive young man.
Fussner had been firing a semi-automatic weapon towards a dining area in the Canyon Village area of Yellowstone when he was confronted and eventually killed by park rangers on July 4th. One of the world's largest celebrities is retiring to Wyoming after years of sweating and sweltering in a California desert. Guapo, a giant 3,000-pound Holstein steer, is retiring from the Coachella Valley in California's low desert to a 3-acre ranch in Campbell County. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi spoke to his rescuer, who said Guapo is going to be living his best life from now on.
He's a big, gentle giant in every sense. He's had children's books written about him. He's getting up there in years, though, and he's been living in the Coachella Valley for most of that time. And it's hot down there. And his owner told me he's not doing so great. So they're looking for a spot where he could spend golden years. And they found that in what they're calling their piece of heaven on a 3-acre ranch outside of Rosette. That's where Guapo and other rescued animals are going to spend the rest of their years.
Guapo is one of the oldest living supersized steers in the world, if not the largest. And getting video of a grizzly mother and cub fighting over food practically within arm's reach seemed pretty cool to share on social media for a Cody man, but he didn't expect it to go viral. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines spoke to Ryan Awney, who had his camera running from inside the cab of his truck when the sow and cub burst through the underbrush next to the road.
This guy said these things were like 15 feet from his truck. It was just crazy. And one of the cubs is just kind of there, but the other one is actively fighting with his mom over a chunk of food. This guy posted it on social media, and he says it's just absolutely blowing up because, you know, what seems normal to a person like me from Wyoming, I guess seems crazy to people in other parts of the world.
After a few seconds of mighty struggle, the video ends with the cub claiming the prize and running back into the cover with its mother and sibling close behind. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.